Hey Cricketers, Robert here and welcome back to this brand new video. It's finally time. We're going to start on our 2000 subscriber special project, the Octobot King L3.Gs cosplay. And oh boy, it's already appearing to be a very big project. Just the hands alone took us just a little bit longer than we would have originally thought. But the difficult shape, that combined with the amount of stuff that we needed to make in series for this part, also contributed to that. But that will be enough of an introduction. We've already kept you guys waiting long enough, so let's start on this literally biggest project we've ever undertaken. For the first part of this project, we started with some 3D models and patterns for the parts. For most of these, we made custom parts so we could get a simplified and better look at the pieces, also allowing us to actually have all of the measurements that we need for the parts. But for these intricate palms, we were luckily able to use some of the models directly from the game, and so with some extra work in Mercurium, we could get all of our pieces for the foam board. Then came the long process of tracing each of the pieces on the foam board, including the fault lines, and then cutting these out. But for the intricate work needed for the palms, I actually had to think of a new way to work with the foam. So I came up with this technique by first making a shallow cut into the fault lines that we traced onto the cutout pieces. After this, I broke the pieces by bending the foam open. Then I laid the pieces back flat and made two 45-degree cuts into the foam board on both sides of the lines. By doing this step by step, and not cutting into the paper layer on the other side of the foam, I was able to make a hinge within the foam that would have the space to fold both ways. This allowed me to follow the instructions of Mercurium much easier and just let the foam twist itself into shape as soon as I connected each piece to its mating one according to the diagram. This technique I could use for both the organic shape of the inner palm, as well as for the shields that adorn the base of the thumb and the back of the palm. Luckily these would not need too many double hinges as much as the inner palm, but apparently it did require some to be bent to relieve some of the stress on the part as a whole. But this also shows just how much of an investment this project has already been, since just for these parts, we've already gone through 5 packs of 20 glue sticks each. Yep, Although I will admit that we've got some of the last hole left. But I hope this shows just how big of an investment this project is going to be. Both in money and with the time that we've already spent onto the hands alone. So, if you have the opportunity and would like to support our channel and what we do here, please go check us out on Patreon. For just as little as €3 a month, you can get exclusive roles in our Discord server, you can see previews of projects Muma and I are working on, shoutouts in every video, and see a schedule of all of the projects, and much more. So if you can and would like to support us, we will have a link to the Patreon placed in the description. But now we've gotten to the fun parts, and I can actually start to assemble the palm itself. Starting with this ring for the bottom. And as said earlier, with the prep we did from the foam board, we now only have to use some masking tape to hold the pieces in place, and the bands will just figure themselves out. This is especially visible with the assembly of the streak pieces that run down the inside of the palm. We only need to add some chamfers to the edges to make them align flush with one another, then we only have to add the glue, and the material will do the rest. This made it so much easier than having to add each polygon by hand. But with all of the streaks and the foam added, it's time for the... wait, what would this be called? Shall we just say knuckles?
Sure.
Okay, so with more masking tape and glue, we could add the big knuckle plateau to the top of the palm. Which then only left us with two more pieces to add, the shields. First up was the shield for the base of the thumb, after which we also added the shield for the back of the hand. But because the thickness of the foam board was different from the material used in the model, it did leave a few gaps in the palm. But we will just have to fill those when we get back to these, when we go and actually paint them. After that, it was a turn for all of the 28 pieces for the finger joints. For these, we had to do the same chamfering technique, but more so to give the pieces the space that they need on the inside to make the bends for the faces of the parts. Luckily with these, we had decided to save a few days of patterning and trace the pieces to use with a laser cutter. Although we still had to cut the edges manually, but by adding these for some flush faces and then some shallow cuts into the foam for some curved parts, we get each of the pieces assembled just like this pinky tip here. Yes! This is just the tip of one pinky. Holy savage, this is gonna be big. With each also having their own hinge on the back. For one of these parts, these will all just be locked in place just to save some time and resources. But for the other right hand, we are actually planning on making these controllable from inside of the suit. Yes! The whole suit is also going to have an articulated hand included. Using this video from Mercurium as a base, although for the Octobot we did have to adjust this method just a little bit. So we actually have to go and see if this will all work out in the end. But we did use his technique of using rotating hinges between all of the finger joints and then adding a wire to all of the bottoms of the joints to hopefully get the fingers articulated. But by using these with some 15mm white strips with chamfered edges, we can make each of the bases of the hinges. But the hands are not only the palms and the fingers, we also have some wrists to make. So for this, we actually have to cut out some more laser cut foam boards to get all of the parts ready. This includes pieces like the truncated comb patterns, cylinder parts, and even these arrow fin and fillet pieces. One of which we actually also have to curve. Then we got some of the final pieces with these cylinders. And then we can start to do some assembly, setting up from the top with the meeting circle for the hand. Below this, we next have to work on the fillet pieces that we add to each of the sides of this decagon? Okay, a 10-sided shape is called decagon. Huh. Funny. Deca tower, decagon. Okay, back on track. Each of these fillet pieces is then lifted and taped to each other before we use our hot glue gun to weld them from the inside. Then to give this a chance to harden, we actually go to the bottom to work our way up to meet the decagon fillet. Starting with another 45-degree edge and another curved strip to make this 60 cm tall cylinder. To this we can then add a truncated cone and finish this with another curved strip of 200mm this time. Placed equally along the edge of the cylinder. For some support, I also decided to include some poster tubes on the inside of the hand, using one pattern to make sure they would all line up. Whoops. So this means that I did need to make a new pattern for the palm itself, but in the end it did all work out. Although it did take a few tries before I got the holes big enough. And with that done, I could finally do some more aesthetic work. By adding these arrow fins between the decagon and the cylinder, we not only add even more strength to the piece, but we also add some very interesting details to the insides of the wrists. And all matching with the original model. Because, you know, cosplay is kind of fun when you can have all of the details included. Not that this is always going to be required. Cosplay you can just do on your own tempo, at your own leisure. Just what you think is comfortable. And so we finally get to the tough part, the articulation. For these I had to cut one more poster tube to size. To this I then added 5 pieces of straws to guide the rope through the pipe, making them line up with the fingers and to not have them tangle up. For these, I just had to lead the wire through the pipe and then lead it back just a little bit to go through the straw, with a knot in the end to not have them slip through by accident. Because believe me, that would have happened. Or even worse, that is going to happen when we weave all of the wires through the fingers. You can just say goodbye to that one then. But this weaving through the hands is sadly not gonna happen until we've applied all of the paints. So for now, we can just focus on some more laser cutting to get these wooden circles. These we can then make into the holders for the hinges that are on the backs of the other finger joints. With their 32mm circles in the middle, we can make use of a clever system of PVC pipes to make a smooth rotating joint, if I do say so myself. Indeed! And so, abusing this system, we can add a 40mm pipe to the hinge on the back. Then we need to cut away the opening for the wooden hinge. And after enough space has been made, we can also make the accompanying hole in the next joint in line where the holder will be placed. And after doing this on repeat for almost 14 times for all of the joints, we have a few more holes to make, but these are actually in the hand itself to be able to place the holders for the base fingers within. Leaving us with this nice dry fit. So, since we now know that everything is just going to fit, we can go ahead and glue these in place permanently. At least the base hinges. Let's not make the articulated fingers just stuck in place. And so, after all of that work, we can do another dry assembly for the articulated hand. Even the left one that we can already glue together. From the tips of the fingers to the bases where they meet the knuckle of the palm. And with a little extra glue to secure the index and the middle finger to the thumb, we've at last gotten to the end point of part 1, the hands. Hey Kriegers, Robo here, and we hope you enjoyed this first look at this massive project. I first wanted to give another thanks to you guys for subscribing and commenting on the videos lately. The channel has been doing super well thanks to you guys' support on our Big Man cosplay. So, thank you guys again from the two of us here at WVD Creations. With a very special thanks to our Patreons, Matt, Kevin, Rena and Emmy, who have helped us a lot during this project. We have also received and found some very awesome pictures from when we wore the cosplay at Dutch Comic Con. So, if you find some more pictures from the con with this big huggable manta ray in them, please tag us, we would love to see them. But that's going to be all from us for now, especially since we still have a few more things we need to do for the next part, the DJ Octavio puppets. And so, keep those creative gears turning, and we will see you guys in the next part.